This is the Zone Football League.
Welcome back to episode 4 of Zone In Podcast, where we talk everything Zone Football League across Newcastle. I'm Mason, and today I'm joined with both Chris Turner and Gary Wilson. How are we, guys?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
Nice weekend. Beautiful weather. Good football.
That's it. Wilso, you said you unfortunately couldn't make it to the game on the weekend, but Chris, you were there. What was the atmosphere like at Islington Park?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I haven't heard anyone call me Chris for a long time. Wilso, I don't know about you. But,
There was someone else in the room.
Yeah, that's right. My mum didn't even call me that. Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Like, really good, actually. The atmosphere was great. The cracking weather, of course. And it was pretty. There was a few vocal people there, including our other commentator, Gareth. And
It's a beautiful part of Newcastle as well, isn't it?
It is, mate.
So.
Very scenic. Yeah, plenty of action after dark, and there's all sorts of stuff going on over there. But yeah, no, it was a really good game. That both teams were cautious of each other, but they were also both looking to attack and play, and that's what made it really exciting. I could just get this feeling that every team in this competition just wants to go and give their best and go and win, and it was evident with these two sides in the weekend.
Yeah, and whether it's just coincidence or not, as these are the games that we see recorded, but looks like everyone's putting their best foot forward when they do get their chance to be on Bar TV.
Without a doubt, there was a buzz there, that's for sure. And, you get used to, Gaz, what we've been doing over the years where you turn up and it's all a bit run-of-the-mill sort of thing. But, we turned up and, you could just feel the buzz about the players and the energy. And that's the beginning of the year and a beautiful day, so it's going to have it naturally. But having some cameras there and
you could tell that even just watching it on Bar TV. I got to watch the game and you could feel there was a bit of a buzz there. Some really good characters, and I love the interviews and the interview with Georgie Saff. He couldn't stop moving at all. He was all over the place, but he's passionate, and I really enjoyed the whole coverage. It was the commentary was terrific. Football was good, and some good goals, and a bit of an upset, or would Olympic have gone into that game, Mason, thinking they were going to win that one? Is that would that be fair? I
would personally think they would have, coming off their pre-season and just the magnitude of the club itself. I would have thought that they would come in feeling a bit more on top and stronger. I'm pretty certain it's coming into or is now uni holidays, so uni might have been missing a few players and stuff like that. I don't know, what would your take have been coming into this game?
Yeah, look, I just went in there sneaky at half time. Kind of like, just someone hanging around like they do at Islington, you know what I mean? Just creeping.
Creepy behaviour, like it maybe at King Street.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I don't remember any of that. But
standing near the girls' toilets.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, whatever you're talking about.
Dressed in black.
It was a bit creepy, but I did sneak around and had a bit of a listen and then edge my way in there. And look, at half time, the game was wide open, and what I could say that was mentioned, it was a reflection of the beginning of the game, that they were talking about wearing them down, their youth and their enthusiasm. They recognise clearly they got some great players on the other side, really good ball players, but we've got to wear them down. That was the message. Make them tired, and at the back end we'll throw a few punches. Yeah. So that's kind of how it was.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, CT. Through the coverage, you looked at the Olympic team and you saw Jacob Bailey, who's really only just come out of grade, even the last couple of years, a really terrific player, brother of one of the greats, Wayne Bailey. Nephew of one of the greats, Wayne Bailey. Casaroli, Tom Davies, who's only, again, over the last few years, finished up his career with Olympic and played at Maitland. So there were some really good players in the Olympic team. So on first sight of that, I was thinking, well, this is Olympics Day, but it was really quick to see that there were some good young players in that university side.
Yeah, and Sorin Harkin up front as well. He was on fire too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, they've got him everywhere. But the other thing is too, with their side, that like Casaroli, he was on the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And I thought this can only go one way for uni. You get Casa on the ball often dominating play, but they just kept going at them. They kept shutting them down, and the numbers behind the ball was a real feature for the defence for the uni. So every time Olympic were looking to open them up, it was just hitting this brick wall, and it just was hard for them to get through. And that was, for me, probably the key difference between the two sides defensively, because Olympic in the last 15 or so minutes had some big holes in there, and they had some.
Yeah.
They had
Well,
some guys.
They lost Bailey late as well with for the descent.
Yeah, just a bit of frustration.
bit
And
of
one guy worth a mention too, Duncan Cooper, who played in the number 7 on the day.
Yeah.
He just kept running at them, and you know, I know if I was marking him and I was on a little bit older legs, I'd be just thinking, well, this guy go away, because he just wouldn't stop.
And you could really see his movement in the coverage, because it was obviously the camera was on this side, on their right hand side, heading back to the road. Islington Road, is it? Islington Road. That's Monopoly.
It's Maitland
Yeah,
Road.
Maitland Road.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. And you could see his movement. He was really making it difficult for the Olympic defence. He got on the score sheet as well. He was a scorer.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of Duncan, he did open the scoring on the day, and little slip through the legs of the keeper.
Yeah, okay, we can't be talking about this game without a mention of Corey Pickett in goals. Now, I'm just going to say I'm going to throw a blanket apology on behalf of Gareth in particular, and maybe a little bit myself, because a couple of the boys may have new nicknames they didn't have before. You know, with Pickett, you know, he was opening gates, he was climbing fences, he was slipping through gaps, he was doing all sorts of stuff.
I think the piece of commentary with when the goal happened, something about the picket fence, the gate opening or wide open. And,
it
was a calamity.
It hit him in the breadbasket and went straight through the front gate.
That got the Olympic back in the game. And like I heard on the call, they really could have been 3-0 up the other end. University, and then all of a sudden it's 2-1, and then you got 25 minutes to go, and the whole game could have swung right on that moment. But University just, they hung tough. There was, they had to deal with it, a good 10 or 15 minutes. But after the send off, you really could have scored a couple more.
Yep, that's it.
And then to wrap it out, really just putting the nail in the coffin. You had Forsyth he kind of deserved a goal by the end of that game, and it did come to him, which was good to seal it up 3-1 for Uni.
Well, I thought he was really good, Forsyth, and like you said, Mace, he deserved a goal. He was involved, I think, in the second one. It was a deflection. I think he was busy all day. He was busy around the box. He was trying to be creative, but he was like an old school 9. He's in the box all the time, and he got his reward. I thought he was close to man of the match. I just thought, he looked like he's played at some level, or he's just young and he's coming through, but he was he was tall, and he held the ball up okay, and I was impressed with him.
Yeah, look, the only thing that probably stopped him was the amount of opportunities he missed, but the good point about it is in position to be there, and that's what you want with your strikers. And so, there were a couple there that he probably should have put away, but hey, look, he got there in the end.
And the good strikers, they keep going, they keep showing up,
and he did exactly that.
He kept getting in the box. But I was like the man of the match. I thought he was good. Addison Tias, is it Tias?
No,
I should know his name because he played for the Eagles only a few years ago, so he comes from a little bit of
Tias or
breeding.
Tias, one of the two.
Whatever it is. I just used to call him Addison or Addy. So.
Yeah, everyone.
But he looked like he'd played at a level, and he has. He played at Edgeworth in, I think, minimum reserve grade. And he looked comfortable on the left, and he really did a good job on the Olympic strike force.
I had Oscar from the uni send me some notes on the players, and they are extensive. If we had a Zoom happening right now, I'd show you they are classic. But I'll just tell you what he says about Addy. He's from Coffs Harbour, lives in a caravan, was his 22nd birthday on Wednesday, natural centre back, loves plane spotting from his caravan.
Yeah, but that sounds like a university student. Very alternative.
With a six-pack.
It's an interesting bio, that's for sure.
Yeah,
he's alternative like when we were younger. University students were alternative. I mean, they're just all alternative now. He's alternative, and that's, plane spotting. I like it.
And just one more worth a mention is Adam O'Connell, the captain. Mm-hmm. So O'Connell played at the back, big, intimidating, figure. But his direction of the traffic, I thought was fantastic. And the way he spoke at halftime when I snuck in and did what I was doing there. But just his leadership on the park, he was another one for. You take him out of the side and you lose that continual drive, that that bring him back in behind the ball mentality. Come on, we got to defend, or he's telling people where to be and how to get themselves about. I really enjoyed the way he did that, and I thought, gosh, if every team had an O'Connell in their side, you'd be a lot better off.
Well, they looked organised. Yeah, I mean that's going to be a real confidence boost for them. I think that puts them. Was it 4 4 points or 7 points. Not sure.
Well, they've been a red hot side, you know.
Yeah, like that. It's a really good result, and they just look and young legs, you know, like that. That's important. You throw a little bit of class in there, in the wide area with Cooper, and I think Forsyth will keep getting better. I think again they're another team that's going to do well in the ZFL too.
Yeah, it's fun to look forward to, isn't it? These matchups as we're seeing.
The pendulum swinging, I guess. New young teams coming through. Olympics being old giants, maybe passing the baton on. And as you say, throughout the season, we'll keep an eye on it. Years to come, it'll be cool matchups to keep track of. But congratulations to Addison for being round 4 Harry Snitty Man of the Match. Was he presented with his award?
Absolutely he was, and it was genuinely invited into the dressing sheds for this time after the game. No worries, it was all smiles in there, and he couldn't be happier to wrap his gob around one of those snitties with his hand on.
University student.
Exactly.
Gareth says
massively in.
Yeah, Gareth says you feel a bit like bad, and I said, "Why is that?" He said, "I feel like I need to pick a skinny bloke. Looks like he needs a feed." But no, Addy, he thoroughly deserved it. He was a big part of the game, and
I thought he had a really good game, natural left footer. And, And how is it like? Just sorry, Mace, just quickly. Like if you went into those dressing sheds, I've coached a youth game there a few years back. And you probably only have to go into one of those because it is paper thin, isn't it? Like you could have heard the other coach while you're listening to the coach that you're in the dressing shed where there's just that. Yeah, I think there's no gap in between, and it was.
I have to note at half time, University stayed out of off the side of the park because they had some messages to deliver, and Olympic went into the shed. So that's just the indication.
You could have told me that before I went on that little.
Well, just kind of, I know, but that's.
I try and do some type of homework. But,
Islington Storklad going on.
That was the match of the round, but some interesting results across the rest of the league and specifically Zone 1. Katara South really stamping their foot down for this season, beating Croatia 3-1, now top of the table as well.
And on fire right now, Willow Greaves and his team in good form, and they, they're on a roll. And even though I haven't seen them play other than in the Charlie Turner Cup, which was about 6 weeks ago now.
So they've obviously got a few boys that have played at a higher level. Like Greaves is he?
Yeah, so Willow's a coach, and then Zenden, his son. And I noticed that he was on the bench on the weekend. The fact that Zenden's on the bench, he's a great footballer in himself, I can just tell with a side like that, they're just on a roll. Training, they've been buzzing.
And it's always been about getting in, and because over the years, those Katara sides, I know some older players that have played there as well over the years, like Pete Ingles and guys like that, and like old school players, and I think they're based on hard work, commitment and loyalty, and obviously there's some real good footballers there now too, and they have to be a real chance.
And you know what, there is a genuine culture at the Tigers. It's just when you turn up. Like I've sat in the sheds at different points over the last 5 years, and you know that they're on every week. Every time you go into the dressing sheds, I like it because it's like they're buzzing every week.
It's a huge scalp,
even in the middle of winter.
It's a massive scalp, Croatia.
Oh,
huge. They've had a big couple of weeks, Croatia. They played midweek. I watched that game over at Cardiff. And to be fair, they were lucky to get away with that one. I was talking to Mason before we started tonight, and Adam Reid could have scored for half time. So they've had that. And for me, maybe they just had a small part of them or their eye on this midweek clash with Maitland in the Cup.
Yeah.
And like we've spoken about, they've got a cast of thousands when it comes to footballers. They've just signed a big player during the week in Nick Cowburn. And, the more players you get there, the more players are looking over their shoulders, and makes it more difficult for the coach. What I saw of him in the first round, you just go, this team's going to win the league.
Yeah, exactly.
But now the more you see of the other football teams in this ZFL 1, I think anyone can win it.
One thing is having the players and the ability to play, but the other one is maintaining a level that's, this discipline every single week. Because if you do, and you do hold that, you'll win, and you'll win the competition, as you say, because you look at that. But the moment you let it slide just for a moment, and a couple of big players, just drop off just a fraction, that's when you're vulnerable. That's when it hurts. So.
Same in saying as well, 11 great players out on the park, but does that make a great team?
Yeah, look what I saw that first night. They're a great team.
Yeah,
they were just red hot.
No, I thought
they'd take anyone.
But bringing in more big names,
Yeah.
stuff like that, is that, as Wilso says,
Well,
looking over your shoulder, cracks start to
you
show?
know, you've got some players there that have, the majority of them have played at a decent level. They've either come through systems or they're just coming out of their careers, and they're at a big club and they want to play. You know, like they, you know, I'm not
what's your
saying there's
thoughts,
egos
guys,
there.
with-
They want to play because you just want to keep playing football. Now, Popper's doing a great job. He's recruiting, and he needs to, because if he goes up, you need more players, and you've got to continue. But it's sometimes it can upset the apple cart. You know, so
let's talk about that for a minute. What's your thoughts on how, you know, do you keep taking these guns, or do you go, all right, you know, I've got, say, 15 guys, I'm going to have 3 or 4 or 5, 6 injuries, and then we'll bring some younger guys through, or do you take 20 and
I think
it?
I think the team that they started with, and when you throw in Johnny Madge and I think there might have been 1 or 2 others out in that first game, I think that squad's good enough. Would I have taken Nick Calburn? It's hard not to take him. It's really hard not to take him. But I don't know. I don't think I would have. I think the team, and I think he's going to end up doing a terrific job. And I would say no way, in any way, would it be of any fault of his on the weekend. I haven't seen the game, but I'm just saying that you just keep adding and adding and adding. It might just upset a few people, you know, and upset people that are digging in, have done the whole pre-season, and he'll work it out, because you do get injured, like you said, Mason, you get injuries, you got guys that are working, shift work, whatever it is.
Forces people to come to training, you can't train, you can't play,
So
you know, that type of mentality.
he knows what he's doing. He's a passionate Croat, and he knows what he's doing, and he's taking the team a fair way, so we're not going to criticise that in any sense. This is only just a thought on where.
I don't know whether we've had the opportunity at any point to look at the post-game celebration, Mason, in Croatia, but I can't remember being in a dressing room like that for years. Like, it was that electric. It was full on.
I think the league needs Croatia to do well. You know, that was one of my most enjoyable games I've been at in a very long time. Like, just the passion, the quality of football.
Yeah.
Not only from Croatia, I thought the Suns were terrific as well. I just thought Croatia were so good on the night. I really got a buzz out of watching the football they played. So, you know, it's like you said, CT. They've got to be up every week, though. You know, you can't go over to Qatar, or back up to Pasadena, and where the crowd's a little bit smaller, and not turn up, because you know these teams in the ZFL1, they're lining up for Croatia. So that's going to be difficult each week.
Well, speaking of some other teams lining up, and the scores from the weekend, Newcastle Suns are obviously still chomping at the bit, ready for that return leg. But in the meantime, on the weekend, they put 7 past Swansea in a 7-3 win, which you can't really look past that. That's pretty impressive. And then Mayfield as well in Zone 1, putting 6 past Warners Bay.
And I feel like Mayfield are going under the radar.
A little bit of a sleep, but
I heard, I was on a job site, and I can't remember the guy's name, because I can't remember my own name half the time. But he'll know who I'm talking about, and he said they went through the pre-season, not getting on any of the forums, not letting people know about what they've done. They've picked up some players. I think he come from Hamilton, Missouri, I think. And he was really confident. And I think their results are showing it. It just shows, again, there's another team that's right in the mix. And
definitely not a two-team league.
No,
that's
not.
For sure.
And I think when at the launch or at the first game, you'd be easily mistaken to think that could have been the case. You know, it was a great atmosphere and a great fixture, but the more we're seeing of all these other teams, it's going to be a ripper of a league.
I'm going to have a go.
That's all right.
Yeah. If you don't enjoy what I'm saying, CT, just you don't have to make a mockery of what I'm saying. But, anyway, can you go a bit further away? I looked at that result, and I looked at their lineup, and there was no Pepper.
Yep.
But Pasquale's come in, and Lockie Pasquale, he I think work commitments hold him back a bit, but he's looks like he's been in the starting lineup for the last few games, and he's a really good footballer. Played a lot of football at Edgeworth through a really good era under Damien Zane. Played some really big matches in the cup. So he if he can get himself fit, And
Yeah.
if he can get himself, sorry about this coughing, we better check on him. It's yeah, we'll call it. Just call an ambulance as well. I think don't forget about the Suns when you bring Peps back in and Pasquale and they've got some the plot. Yeah, of course. We're professionals, mate. I've done some part-time acting, mate. I don't.
I'm just trying
a little bit on Home and Away.
It's all good.
2003, just a bit part on Home and Away. Yeah, you have to go back right into
Wow.
the
I bet you
archives
do
to
run
see
this
it.
too.
But anyway, back to the Palazzi boys. They scored. I think they scored a couple each again. So yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Looking down to Zone 2, then Merriweather advance on a bit of a streak at the moment, making it 2 in a row. Tough win over South Maitland. Also then Norths beating Minmai 4-2. Some interesting results there, especially for Minmai. Wouldn't be great going into the Australia
I'm fine.
Cup game.
Piss off, Gaz.
No, I'm fine.
We can have medical timeouts here.
Maybe a bit worrying for Minmai coming off that game going into this week for Australia Cup as well.
Well, like you said, Merriweather advancing nicely up the table. Merriweather advancing nicely up the table. You don't have to leave that in. But I think South Maitland, they may have had a slight hangover. They played midweek against Wall's End in the Cup and put in a pretty decent display
Yeah,
at the
they're
old
going a little bit
Gardens.
south at the moment. Is that what you mean?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They have lost a couple. So you're completely correct, Chris, in between the coughing fits. I think, I think we spoke about last week, just the games, the Cup games, they all start to take a toll on, not professional footballers. So they got to work and they might be sick or might have a cough or something. So you never know. And then what could be affecting them.
And then Norths as well, you'd think are on the up.
Yeah, of course. Of course. This is the Three Stooges, I'm telling you. We should be on the stage.
Should be somewhere, but not here.
And finally, rounding out the weekend in Zone 3, Madawi and Greeter had a goals galore with a 4-4 draw, whilst Suburbs get their season back on track with a 4-0 over Southern Lakes, and Curry as well, just proving their force, 4-1 over Merriweather.
Your team.
Okay, we didn't have to bring that up, but yep, thanks for that.
I get Merriweather advance and Merriweather confused, but obviously Merriweather
United,
more of the advanced team. But and taking things seriously, what a game, 4-4.
Yeah,
loads of goals. Greeter Brankston. Are we going up there? Like we all need to take a caravan.
No, we'll just jump on one of the buses. So get a bus sorted here, and we're on.
I wouldn't mind going into one of those pubs up there. I think that'd be a great experience.
Winter.
We might not get out of there, but 4-4 draw. What else do you want? You want goals and excitement, and
exactly.
It sounds like it had it all. So
for two teams as well that seemingly, and I know it's early in the season, being middle to top teams, just kind of putting that forward that neither of them are giving up, or going to go out without a fight.
They wanted the 3 points, obviously. Obviously they left the defence part of the schedule right out of the order, but they wanted the win. Early points and get as many points as possible. But I'm sure both coaches in the end were happy with a point.
Yeah.
When you concede 4, you're probably happy with a point.
You want to, if you're finding some silver linings, that's got to be something. Yeah. With the Easter break coming up this weekend, there is still a couple of midweek games this week. Australia Cup games as well as the round 2 reschedules. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Solved Marketing. Solved are partnered with Newcastle Football, Zone Football League, and are also sponsoring the podcast. So any marketing inquiries or needs, we couldn't recommend solved enough. Also, Deploy Football. They are major sponsor, supplying the balls for the season opening game. They've got great apparel, great equipment, footballs, everything that we need. I think you've touched on us already, Harry Snitzel.
Oh yeah, we love Harry because Harry gets the snitties in your gut.
Moving on to one of our newer segments that we introduced last week, the forum chat. We joked about before we started filming back in the day. The two of you might have got a few comments thrown your way, not so nice ones in the forum back in the day.
Well, I think this one goes back to 2012. I'd say the one that me and you were on CT might have got pulled down. I saw some horrible comments.
Oh yeah, I think it was well before that.
Horrible comments.
I think it was more around
about
like
both of us.
around the
way-
2000s.
Yeah,
maybe?
2000. So
I could be wrong.
But I'd forgotten all about it. That trauma I left behind. But yeah, I mean they're great. I mean it's good these forums are terrific. Just to throw some information out, throw some opinions out, throw ideas out,
Maybe
criticism,
some misinformation as well.
Well, the difference now, Gaz, is you actually getting on camera and talking, and people can see you as opposed to typing away.
Yeah, I couldn't even get on a computer back then.
I'd
say Michelle or someone probably wrote for me.
Well, some things I've pulled to speak about this week is put some predictions out there for Zone 1 specifically. Some of them are now redundant after this weekend, being that Croatia go undefeated the whole season.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Do people put their names to this, or is it just like a
So you have
username?
usernames, so still anonymous.
It's anonymous.
Yeah. So
Gaz _ nightclubs in town doesn't work anymore.
No, I might get on and have a look. Be interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, for instance, this one comes from Mr. Beautiful 2.0. So are you sure that's not your one? Or
Yeah, well,
yeah,
that could be Gareth.
yeah. Reckons that the grand final for Zone 1 will be Uni versus Croatia.
Yeah, well, that's
As we were saying, after Uni's result against Olympic on the weekend, might not be far from it.
I mean, if you do your detective work, you'd probably think that might be a university player or supporter.
Potentially,
yeah. Students. But, why not? I just think this league is wide open. I think depth in the end will play a really major part. I think Croatia will be thereabouts. I think the Suns will be thereabouts. But like this Katara, like we've just spoken about, the students, Olympic, I think they'll come good. There's just so many. There's so many good. Even if Cardiff, Alex Reid is one of my favourite players in the NPL, and Alex. Young Crawley's there as well, so there's some good players at Cardiff. So, why not? And what I saw of the students on the weekend, like they were young and eventful and courageous,
mobile and defensive.
Exactly right, which is what you saw. CT.
Yep. And a rumour last week, we were talking rumours about Cowburn coming. Came out to be true a couple days later.
Right on it, aren't we?
Yeah, we're breaking the news first. This week's rumour is Marko Jesic. I think I've probably butchered that, but Marko Jesic from MPL, Marconi Stallions, apparently looking to sign for Lambton Jaffers.
Yeah, well, there might be. Like we said, it may be the Lambton Jaffers.
Yeah.
More likely, but what a coup that would be for.
Imagine Marco coming to Zone League, Zone League 2.
He's still playing at Marconi.
He's still at Marconi, 8 games, only 2 goals, but still at that level. So
yeah, I mean, I would think the Jaffers NPL team's probably going after him. They do go after a lot of players. So, but if it's not, and he knows someone from up here, it could be as easy as that. And he wants to just come back and
apparently there's some
enjoy his football and
family ties at the Jaffers.
Might have a job up here.
Yeah,
could be anything. You might have a girlfriend up here. They usually control most of your movements. Could be anything. But that would be amazing. That'd be amazing and a real shot in the arm for the Jaffers.
Yeah. Those are some of the forum points for this week. Keep them coming, I guess. We happy to look at them and have something to talk about.
Please don't comment on our looks at all. Very.
Is that the no-go?
Well, we've got egos, and
Yeah.
you know, if you could refrain from that,
Got to keep
you know.
them intact.
Mace, yeah, you can have
Yeah.
a go at him. He's still got his youthful looks,
Yeah, true.
and his weird haircut and tattoos out everywhere.
With this coming weekend being the Easter weekend, bit of a break, the match that we will be having a look at just briefly is between Minmire FC and Wallsend FC. The game isn't being played in our competition, but in the Australia Cup competition, and we highlight this match specifically for the history buffs out there, such as Chris Brain loves his history, and the reason we highlight this game is these are the two of the oldest clubs in Newcastle coming up against each other, and I believe I read as well they actually haven't faced each other in over 50 years now. So
Crazy.
Huge for these two clubs, not actually too far away geographically from one another, but haven't versed each other in a competitive game in the 50 years. What, from your views, ever playing against Minmire, Wallsend, what their clubs are like? What do you know
old,
about
but
it?
we're not old enough to have played against Minmire, but definitely Wallsend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. You know, so I think it's a great fixture. I know the coach Chris Gallagher of Wallsend. He was really excited about the same stuff you're talking about, Mason. Just the history and the emotion, and yeah, they're basically just up and over the hill through Fletcher, one of our other zone league teams.
Yep.
Through there quickly. But yeah, he's really excited. He was talking about trying to get hold of Gareth, and if there was any chance that the game could be covered. Like I said, I'm not sure how that works with it being through Australia,
Northern,
the Australia
yeah.
Cup and Northern. But yeah, they're really excited about it, and they were trying to make a big deal about it, and they're very wary of what Minmire could do or couldn't do, and
Yeah.
get yourself down at very least down to Breakers Stadium and the old Breakers Stadium. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Minmire being 10th at the moment in Zone 2, little bit worrying, but Wallsend aren't doing that crash hot themselves, 9th in...
Yeah, well, they had their first win on the weekend, so that might buoy them for this. And,
yeah.
But yeah, Chris is a good coach, and he's trying to get things happening there. That club has been through the mill over the years, hasn't it?
It has, and
financially, and
Yep.
and hurt by people doing the wrong thing, and when the Breakers took over, so many things when they had one of the greatest grounds in Australia, really, Crystal Palace.
Yep.
So he's just trying to build that up, and I've got a lot of credit should go to Chris and a lot of people over there. I don't know all their names, but they're really working hard to get the development of the youth
Yeah,
through
there's a few
there,
of the
and
boys from the
so-
mid north
yeah.
coast that have been
Yeah.
in there, been sort of long termers now at Wallsend as well.
Yeah, and they're trying to help also with Indigenous players and players from abroad
right,
as well, and just trying to create that club that everyone remembers, really.
Yeah.
Yep. So we, without being able to unfortunately broadcast that game, we are highlighting it this week and definitely encouraging everyone to get down to the Gardens 7 o'clock on Wednesday the 16th. Watch this Australia Cup game. For me personally, I'll be cheering on the Zone League team of Minmire, hoping they can progress to the next round. And we wish luck to all the rest of the Zone League teams in the Australia Cup this week.
Yeah, like we said about Croatia, real opportunity. Obviously Maitland have come back into some form, but they will be giving themselves a really big chance up there. Whether they can go the distance with them physically and remains to be seen. But if I wasn't, are they playing Wednesday night or
Wednesday night? Yeah.
If we weren't playing Cardiff City the same night, I'd definitely find my way up there. I think it's just going to be if you're
really
in that
good.
area, I'd definitely get down and have a look at Croatia from the Zone League and obviously Maitland, and I think it's going to be a ripper.
Yeah, look, same deal, and I think where the eyes have been on that prize, they'll give them a good shake.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope it's a good game.
For sure. Well, unless there's anything else to be said, boys.
No, we'll just touch on the Craig Johnston. A couple of weeks ago, we had
Yep.
him on the show, and what a great thing that was. Just having him here, and I know for you and I, Gaz, it's a real
It's a
thrill.
real buzz. Yeah, it was,
And it should be for all of the people watching this too, because you just, I watched a couple of his games from 1983, on the back end of us talking to him, and What a player. You sort of
Yeah.
forget how busy and how good and
Oh,
fit
he's
and
just an
got in
amazing
good holes. He was
footballer.
always, setting things up or on the end of things. So,
Played with some of the best players in the world at that time.
yeah, my favourite player of all time is John Barnes. And they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
best buddies. I didn't even
Yeah.
know till
Yeah.
last year. It's like I was starstruck,
I think I was in awe, really. I was like very, obviously you two I listen intently too, but that guy he was talking, and he's eccentric and raw and passionate, and
It
he
was
has
the
a
passion that got
yeah.
me standing beside him. You
yeah.
could just tell how
it was oozing
true.
out of him, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it was just it was just really good moment for me to finally meet him. Really, it was a really good moment.
Yeah, I spoke to Chris Brain, and we're going to be sending a letter or an email, sorry, 2025.
By pigeon, maybe?
Pigeon, yeah. But to all of the clubs, inviting you to purchase a table. So when you go,
Check your mailboxes, of course.
or your back gutter, the pigeon. But when you have that opportunity to purchase a table, it's what Craig wants to do is just have it so it becomes a real community type. There's Minmay and there's Adamstown. I know we went through all of this before,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
he's
think we gotta keep highlighting
Merriweather
it,
Advance
yeah.
and Merriweather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jasmine, whoever.
Seems like
we've
he's
got.
really trying to create just like a festival of football for the
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, and wear your club colours, And
Yeah.
that's what he's written his book. Now he's wanting to tell the rest of his story, and what a great night it'll be, Gaz, and for people like the Liverpool fans, like the Liverpool fan club.
Yeah.
You imagine they're going to be out in numbers. They'll be singing. There'll be all sorts of stuff going on, chants, and who knows. And with Matty Johns being the MC, like
You
could
don't know
be
what's
anything.
going to happen.
It's going to be a great night. I'm just really looking forward to it. You'll get that pigeon turn up and get yourselves a table. It'll be great fun. Have a safe weekend over Easter and a safe Easter break.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
No worries. Well, you two enjoy your Easter break as well, and we'll see you next. Well, we won't see you next week. There will be no football, no podcast, but we'll see you on the next episode of Zone In Podcast, talking everything zone football across Newcastle. See ya.
This is the Zone Football League.